welcome to Nothing Ever Happens in Canada, but we know this is simply not true. This is a Canadian podcast about the myths, legends, and just good old stories Canada has to tell. I'm Canadian Girl. Thanks for joining me today on this bonus international adventure. That's right, I hope you brought your passports because we are going overseas for this bonus adventure today. Today's true crime bonus adventure takes us to Berlin, Germany. That's 6,476 kilometers, or 4,024 miles. It's an 8-hour flight, so make sure you have your favorite podcast downloaded for the trip. As for the weather, it seems pretty mild right now, more than I expected at least. Think cold fall weather, so definitely bring some warm clothes. For our first international adventure, we'll be visiting the famous Bode Museum, where a 221-pound or 1,000 kilogram solid gold Canadian coin known as the Big Maple Leaf used to call this museum home. That's right, used to are the key words here. Join me now on our first international adventure and discover the tale of this stolen piece of Canadian treasure. Our story starts at the Royal Canadian Mint facility in Ottawa, Ontario. The Royal Canadian Mint, if you don't know, is responsible for printing and disposing of all Canadian money. There are 3 locations across Canada. There's the headquarters in Ottawa, where we'll be hanging out for a few minutes. There is also one in Winnipeg and in Vancouver, BC. They originally only set out to make one large gold coin as a marketing piece for the Mint's new, pure 99.999% gold maple leaf coins they were wanting to sell that year. There was quite a bit of excitement around the very large piece, and many quickly made it known they were willing to pay for their own giant gold Canadian coin. The Mint would grant some of these people's wishes and make a set of 5 massive pure gold Canadian coins. At that time, they were the largest gold coins in the world, beating out the previous record held by Australia. Side note, Australia did not like being beaten by Canada for having the largest gold coins in the world. In 2011, they would take the title back from Canada with a 99.99% pure gold coin crafted in the Perth Mint, weighing in at a huge 2,204 pounds or 1,000 kilograms, and it's worth over $50 million. It even has an adorable kangaroo on the front. But back to our gold coin, nicknamed the Big Maple Leaf. This coin was over 200 pounds and 1,000 kilograms. Anyone who ever had to lift one described them as being like lifting a fridge or a freezer, very heavy and awkward. Some also described them as being like the size of a very large stop sign or manhole cover. They were 3 centimeters or 1.18 inches thick, 50 centimeters or 21 inches in diameter. One side of the coin features Queen Elizabeth II's portrait, and inscribed on it is $1 million. And of course, the Queen's name. On the other side, it has 3 maple leaves, the word Canada at the top. Along the bottom, it reads 99.999% fine gold, 100 kilograms or pure, which is the French way of labeling gold. The maple leaf design was done by Royal Canadian Mint artist and senior engraver Stan Whitten. The effigy of Queen Elizabeth II is done by Canadian portrait artist Susanna Blunt. It is also considered a legal tender in Canada. The piece itself is said to be brilliant, made of the purest 24-karat gold at 99.999%, a term known in the gold industry as 5 nines. It's the purest you can find. It has a face value printed on the coin of $1 million, but when stolen, it was said to be worth close to $4.3 million or 3.75 million euros and 3.4 million pounds. In 2007, the coins were actually certified as the largest coins in the world by the Guinness Book of World Records. But you already know we didn't keep that title for too long, and it was also the world's first $1 million coin. Right on the Royal Canadian Mint's website, if you look up info on the very large coins, it states when you ask them why they made the coin, they simply said, because they could. So where are the 5 coins today? You can still see one of these coins in person if you are lucky enough to visit the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto. There are 2 others said to be sold to private collectors, believed to be in Saudi Arabia. The one we're talking about today, well, it has vanished. And the Ottawa facility still has the very first one made, safely under lock and key in a vault. Now let's get out of here and head overseas for our first out-of-the-country true crime adventure. Get your passports, boarding passes, and luggage ready. We're about to take off. Hello everybody and welcome to Berlin, Germany. How was your flight? Good, I'm glad everybody had a great flight. Today we're off to the Bode Museum. It sits on an island surrounded by water. When you stand facing the museum, there is a roadway to the right of the building. The Spree River runs directly at the museum, creating a moat around the entire place. There is a walking footbridge known as the Montbijou Bridge that connects to either side of the channels, so no matter which side of the river you are on, you can still get to the museum by foot. The most important feature that will play into our story soon enough is that there is a train track that goes over the top of the road to the right of the museum and runs right behind and across the Spree River as it goes by the edge of James Simon Park on the right, and on the left there is a public pool and a volleyball field park where it continues on. Fun fact, there is also in the surrounding area near the museum, just to make you feel a little more at home, 2 McDonald's, a Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, a Subway, Google Berlin, and there is an American 60s style diner that looks pretty delicious. Now let's head inside to this beautiful building and see a little bit of one of the world's largest coin collections. At 540,000 pieces, such as 100,000 Greek, 50,000 Roman ones, and more. They are kept in another location. Here at the museum, there are 4 coin cabinets located on the 2nd floor that hold over 4,000 artifacts, such as money, stamps, seals, tools to make money, and where our beloved large Canadian $1 million coin used to stand. I'm told it was replaced after the robbery with a cardboard cutout, but I do not know if that is still there for sure. The collection dates back to the 7th century BC and to the coins of the present. The Bode Museum itself calls the collection a chronological of human history forged in metal.
An oversized gold coin snatched from a German museum.
Management at Berlin's Bode Museum likely had an awkward call to make this morning.
Let me take you back a bit just before the robbery. It's the beginning of March, and a man the police name as Dennis W., as he was still a minor under European court laws when he decided to partake in this crime. Dennis was 20 years old and just beginning a new job at the Bode Museum as a security guard, usually working the night shift. He is accused of having helped facilitate and for advising on security locations for the robbery. He had a locker at the museum like most staff members do. He is said to have spent time in there the day before the robbery, alone during his break, something that is not a common practice by him or any other staff members. Most would be in the staff lounge. What made it look even worse, the thieves would come in through the locker room window the very next night. Days after the break-in, Dennis W. was seen buying a gold chain worth 10,000 euros or $11,520. He was also seen shopping for luxury cars. Dennis W. was no stranger to crime. He was just previously arrested, weeks before the break-in, for driving a car with stolen license plates. There was also screwdrivers, nylon gloves, and other common items used during a break-in were inside the vehicle. It was also noted he had a Bode Museum flyer, but was disregarded as he claimed to work there, which checked out. The biggest red flag for police, Dennis would receive a phone call while under arrest for the Bode Museum investigation from Ahmad Remo, I'm not sure exactly how to say this name, as they were underage and no one ever actually said this name out loud, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm going to go with Remo for this story. Ahmad Remo, a name they were already heavily paying attention to and will be discussing later. The thieves began their surveillance on the museum on good old St. Patrick's Day on March 17th, just 10 days before the break-in. At 2 a.m., the thieves can be seen dressed in black at the South Bain station, and then they disappear towards the museum. On March 21st, the thieves can be seen again on camera, heading towards the museum around 3 a.m. in the same train station. Trains do not run between 1:30 a.m. and 4 a.m. There are no trains on the tracks. This will be key information later. On this night, the group is said to have tried to remove the safety window to the locker room on the 3rd floor. Some say it was broken, some stories say they did not remove it, but they tried. Which this window was on the 3rd floor, so my question is, where is this ladder hiding, and for how long? Because you don't see it in the surveillance videos, yet they are able to reach the window. Just something I thought about. On March 27th, the thieves can be seen again on camera, heading towards the museum, and this time, we know they got in. You can watch these surveillance videos for yourself. I'll include the links below. So who were the 3 men involved? 2 brothers and a cousin from a very well-known crime family. Between 3:20 a.m. and 3:45 a.m. is when police say the thieves made off with the $1 million Canadian gold coin. The worst part was, that was not even the museum's piece they took. It was a private collector said to be from Vienna, Austria, who had put it on loan to the museum. The suspects, Ahmad and Wacy Remo, 20 and 24, and their cousin, Wissam Remo, 21, the 3 men, wearing masks, hoods, and dark clothing, would climb onto the railway that runs behind the museum, where it seems they may have had a ladder waiting for them, or strategically placed earlier that day. It's hard to say. Witnesses testified to seeing a wheelbarrow and a ladder prior to the robbery, but just thought the museum was doing some maintenance. The thieves would use the ladder as a bridge to break into the 3rd-story window of the locker room on the southeast side, which they knew had no alarm, and they had previously tried to break into. They then made their way down 1 floor to the southwest wing and into the coin cabinet room, where the big maple leaf was standing protected behind bulletproof glass. This did not stop the thieves. It is believed they used an axe or a hammer to break the glass and possibly other unknown tools. They then left the museum swiftly, the same way they came in. It's believed the 3 men dropped the coin out the locker room window onto the train tracks below. A mark could be seen on the ground hinting at this. They also believed the coin would have visual damage marks on it as well. They then descend down the ladder, which they knew they could leave safely there while they were inside, as they knew no trains were coming. They then placed the coin in a wheelbarrow, and some reports say they had skateboards, but I'm not sure why, or if they actually did. But yes, they did use a wheelbarrow to cart the coin down the tracks, where they then again threw the coin over the bridge and down into the park below. This again is indicated by another mark on the ground. They then used a rope to climb down to either a waiting getaway car, or they quickly obtained one. So yes, amazingly, these young men managed to break into a world-famous museum and steal $1 million Canadian solid gold coin the size of a very large stop sign in the middle of the night, with only a ladder, a few common hand tools, wheelbarrow, breaking a window, as well as a display case, along with one piece of rope that police found just under the bridge and on the park grass, exactly where the large damaging mark believed to be made by the coin being tossed over the tracks, and a getaway car. Nothing high-tech or James Bond really about it at all. At the time, the accused were just a couple of 18-year-olds, one 19-year-old, and a 21-year-old. Most believe, since the family is known to be part of the crime world, the boys did not plan this very simple-looking heist on their own, as they would not or could not believe the young men would have the connections to melt down and sell the gold as fast as they seemed to have done without higher-up connections. Also, having the boys commit the crime, if caught, would mean less jail time. In reality, it seems this simple plan may be more thought out than anyone imagined or wanted to. The Remo brothers and their cousins were eventually arrested. As well, there were reports circulating around the town that the boys were selling gold, but nothing was ever proven. There were also reports that someone in the immediate family bought a car worth 40,000 euros or $58,000 right after the robbery occurred, though I could not confirm who. And they were a wealthy family. That wasn't really out of character for them. When the tapes were reviewed of the men seen prowling around the train stations at night before the break-in, investigator Andre B. recognized Dennis W. immediately from his previous arrest just weeks prior. A colleague of Andre's would also recognize the Remo brothers, and their investigation heated up. 30 cars and properties in total were searched in connection with the break-in. All they found were some sharp weapons and 150,000 in euros. That's $220,000 Canadian. In July of 2018, 77 properties owned by the Ramo family and believed to be purchased with the funds from the stolen gold were seized. The getaway car that was used was being kept in a police impound lot when it was broken into and sprayed down with a fire extinguisher, which was believed to be done to hide evidence from the crime. This, unfortunately for them, did not work. Traces of the gold dust were found in the car's seat cushions. Police also found gold dust in the pockets of Wiseman, the cousin of the second accused. The jacket was seized during his arrest, as it matched a quilted jacket observed in the video surveillance scene of the thieves. They also found gold dust on many different tools during the arrest. All the gold dust that was found matched the purity of the big maple leaf coin at 99.99 pure. Something one cannot just happen upon. That type of gold can only be found in the space industry. They also found Wysam's matching sneakers at his apartment that could be seen in the surveillance tapes. Another damning fact by the cousin, on his cell phone they found an app to calculate gold prices, and he had Googled machines to melt gold. So, how did Dennis W. come into play with the Remo boys? He claims to have known them from school. If convicted, the four men could face anywhere from 3 to 10 years for their crimes. While arriving to the Berlin District Court in January 2019, the cowards all showed up with their faces covered by magazines, with holes cut out for their eyes so they could see. They even sat in the courtroom, number 817, like this. I could not believe it. You can see the Global News video below for yourself. And they also have the perfect digital reenactment of the crime I have also linked down below. The four cowards accused all also chose to remain silent, so we may never really know exactly what happened that night. The defense would argue the prosecution had absolutely no proof of their allegations, The verdict was supposed to be read in March this year, but as of May, it still has not been completed, as far as I could tell. Sadly, the big maple leaf coin was always said to be a very popular piece with visitors, the director of the museum is quoted as saying, and will be missed. The stolen gold coin, though thought to be broken down due to all that gold dust found everywhere, it's believed to have been sold out of country. But every once in a while, a rumor comes swirling back around that says it's actually still intact and owned by a German collector. So there's always hope. Our golden Canadian coin, the big maple leaf, may still be out there. I'm Canadian Girl. Thank you so much for joining me on our very first adventure out of the country. Until our next flight, my friends.
This podcast is a part of Straight Up Strange Productions. Discover more shows like this one at straightupstrange.com.
Want to help support the show? You can do that in 3 simple ways.